Welcome to Running It Back, the sports and lessons learned podcast with Tarlin Ray and Mike Palmer. Tarlin, how are you?
I'm actually a little sad.
Because we're at the penultimate episode.
That is the reason why I'm a little sad.
Yeah, penultimate is also an excellent word.
It's the second. I was trying to write it down. I couldn't spell it, but go on.
Yeah, second to last. It's the second to last edition of the Last Dance breakdown shows of Running It Back. But we're still in discussions about maintaining this dynamic, continuing to talk about lessons learned from basketball, lessons learned from sports, documentaries. We'll figure it out, but there's a lot to learn from The Last Dance, which is chronicling the 1990s Bulls, the Michael Jordan experience. That's what we're going to talk about now, second to last edition of breaking down that. And then TBD, maybe we continue to run it back maybe after that. We'll see.
The next big release, they pushed up the release of the Hamilton movie, so maybe that's next time.
It's all within the world of possibility, but right now we want to talk about episodes 7 and 8 of The Last Dance. Lots going on, so a little wistful, but also you got to enjoy what you got while you got it. If The Last Dance teaches us anything, it's that when you have something special, enjoy.
If it's on a Mother's Day and you say, remember, I'll be on the couch from 6 to 8. And your daughter says, it's not Father's Day. You say, oh, maybe I should tape it.
Yeah, it's true. It was a bit of a trap game for fathers who cared about The Last Dance, but also cared about the women and the mothers in their lives. So good job by us that we're doing this. We were able to watch episodes 7 and 8 respectively. And in terms of the saga, it was a bit of a trap game for Jordan too, right? This is for the hero's quest to be realized through the Michael Jordan and also the supporting cast around the 90s Bulls. They had to face some adversity, and there was plenty of adversity to be faced in episodes 7 and 8, going right into Jordan leaving basketball to pursue his dream of baseball. Your worst fears are being realized, Tarlin. And then his return to the Bulls in 1995, which then heads into the first of the second three-peat in 96. So that's the main flashback period that's covered. And then if you're looking at where he is in the 1998 season, it heads right into the series with Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers. A veritable cornucopia of 90s basketball nostalgia for me. For me, it made me want to play NBA Jam again. But I don't know, where are you at?
But you said Jam, so why don't we go Space Jam?
Oh my God, let's go Space Jam. Yeah.
Because daughters ran across the movie a week ago and decided to watch Space Jam. I'm like, I'm all in. Mm-hmm. They're asking questions. Who's that tall guy? Who's the short guy? See that Muggsy, little Sean Bradley.
Yeah.
But then to find out what was happening behind the scenes. So this is, if you talk about the 92 Olympic team in Monaco having the best basketball ever that no one ever saw. Yeah. This is another game that no one ever knew about. Yeah. Where Warner Brothers built a gym for Jordan.
Right.
And people descended in from everywhere to go
play.
Players.
Yeah.
Players. No fans. Players.
Yeah.
Miller.
Right.
Ewing.
Juwan Howard looking pretty
Juwan
fit.
Howard looking like he was a Fab Fiver, a true Fab Fiver. Longest, by the way, he lasted in the pros longer than any of the Fab Fivers, right?
Yeah.
Would you have said that when you were looking at that squad?
Right.
Probably not. But just amazing that they said Jordan just goes to his energy level, but film all day, then play at 7 at night for a few hours, and then left.
Right.
And people thought he was a freak show. I did read an article. I'm a UCLA Bruin fan, diehard.
Yeah.
Bruins had just come off winning the national championship.
Is that the Tyus Edney O'Bannon?
Tyus Edney O'Bannon, Charles O'Bannon.
Yeah.
Toby Bailey, George Zedek.
Okay, that's a deep cut. I wouldn't have gone there. Yeah.
Cameron Dollar. Do you want me to?
Cameron Dollar, I vaguely remember because that's a good name. Yeah.
Chris Johnson, Marcus Johnson's son.
Yeah.
Didn't get off the bench. He averaged like 3 points.
Yeah.
He played in that run. And he was one of Jordan's favorite guys.
And was this before the Drew League? Because you hear about the Drew League all the time.
So there used to be, and I didn't know about the Drew League growing up, the men's gym at UCLA was where all the pros went to go play.
Got it.
So I think the Drew League probably was around. I knew less about it, but it was more in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just fascinating to hear about those runs. And Jordan, after losing, right, in the Eastern Conference Finals,
right,
to a guy he hates losing to in Horace Grant,
right,
was also using it as a way to start picking up on people's tendencies.
Yes.
It was using it as a way to get ready for the next season.
There is that shot of him sitting right underneath the basket, just going to school on how these guys are playing.
And also Miller go left. Make Miller go left.
Exactly. And like they're playing, it's like the way you would play pickup. You know, like you could actually watch runs before you get back on.
Oh, yeah.
And then just see.
Well, I often was on the court. I didn't lose. So is that what you did when you?
No, I was just going into like I would show up late. You would also show up early. You know, like so you win the first run. I would be more
establish dominance early.
And then you go for me, it's more like just like you want to make your last shot. You want to win the twilight run. You know, you want to win the run before the pickup game ends. But my God, like. Well, I think we're jumping ahead though, right? So in terms
you asked me, you said Jay.
No, it's good. It's good. It's all good. But there's so much stuff in here because it covers the interregnum. There you go. I'm dropping the vocabulary. But between
for all you students not taking the SAT this year.
Exactly. You got a little free time. You might as well learn some vocabulary, right? But between Jordan's wins, the Olajuwon years, which is why like Akeem's out there. Is there a reason why Jordan shied away from Akeem? Because they never went head to head, right?
No.
And that is an interesting gap. But when Jordan receded, Akeem, is it Akeem or Hakeem? Like he went through a bunch of iterations of his name. Hakeem. All right. And if there's variants.
Akeem Ayers was a linebacker for the UCLA Bruins and played in pros. This is Hakeem.
But Olajuwon ascended when Jordan exited. Pippen also ascended, but not quite to the heights, right? So we cover what happened in the 94 Bulls. And then by the time the 95 Bulls came around, they were actually in decline until Jordan came back from baseball. So getting that chronology together, like my memory of the 90s is a lot better. And it's just a sign that as we get older, like it's not that you forget stuff. It's just that more barnacles accumulate on the hull of your ship. There's more stuff that you remember from the 2000s. There's plenty of years. But once you see this stuff, it brings it back crystal clear. I forgot all about Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp, the 96 season. That's a vintage. That's a legendary finals. You know, where do you want to go next?
You talked about 94. I mean, if we run back the tape, I said I hoped that we wouldn't cover a lot of baseball. We did, and actually we covered in a way that you felt like you knew a little bit more about Michael. You predicted a little bit more Kerr. But I do think we need to talk about Pippen, who had an amazing season, top 3 in MVP voting, first team All-NBA, led the Bulls in every single stat that you can think of.
And his scoring only went up a few points, right? It's the league leading, I think he's the league leading scorer. He's up there, Jordan, every year. You know, you lose that scoring, and then Pippen doesn't just step, he picks up 3 points a game himself, but then his distribution improves. They genuinely are running the triangle, the legendary triangle.
More democratized approach to basketball.
Yeah, there's a lot about team dynamics to be learned from that season.
Sure, until the end.
Until the end, right? So then they're in the playoffs. Playoffs? You're talking to me about playoffs?
Playoffs.
They're in the playoffs. They're playing the transcendent 1994 New York Knicks, a juggernaut of a team. You know, you got Ewing in his prime.
I'll try not to laugh. Keep going.
You got Starks. That's the Derek Harper team, right? This is a team that has it's Oakley, a young Anthony Mason. There's depth.
Was Allen Houston on that team?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. He's coming. But this is still, you know, the Knicks. Ewing has his team. They're the closest thing to the Pistons.
Closest to the Bad Boys.
Since the Pistons. They don't care what you think about them. They are tough. They have an amazing fan base, believe it or not, that is
still playing in the Garden. Yep.
Still slumbering, but Madison Square Garden is rocking. There's some legendary games, and the Eastern Conference Finals, Pippen and a Jordanless Bulls versus an ascendant Ewing team for the right to play Olajuwon in the finals. And Pippen stepped it up. MJ's watching from Birmingham. You know, he's trying to get his baseball game together. He's just a fan. And Pippen and Kukoc, who we covered last go around, you know, 2 top scorers on that team, probably.
Kukoc was number 2.
Yeah. And then Kukoc, also a big game shooter. He's not the category stuffer that you know about with Scottie. Phil's calling up the play. He's the Zen master. 1.8 seconds left. Paint us a picture, Tarlin. Like, what's your take here?
And instead of, if Michael was there, Michael always getting the ball.
Yeah.
Phil ran a play so that Tony could get the last shot, and Pippen, not even a decoy on the court, was going to be the one to pass the ball in.
Right. And this is 1.8 seconds left. So, like, there's no time to pass. Beyond the first pass, whoever catches the ball, maybe they could get a dribble. Maybe a dribble, probably not. Right? Probably just catch and shoot, because you don't want to. I don't know. This is probably pre-replay, but like the 1.8 seconds, not a lot. Oh, this might have been around the Reggie Miller, you know, scoring like 8 points in 8 seconds. Whole other story. But regardless, this is against the Knicks. Score was tied, right? That's also the So the score was tied. They were going to go to overtime. Knicks were feeling strong because Knicks had won the first 2 games. This was to go up 3-0. This game 3.
Yep.
Scottie's supposed to inbound the ball
to Tony because they thought Phil thought, and as Tony said, I had several last-second shots during the year.
Yeah.
And Phil thought they had a great matchup there.
Right.
At Pippen, the best passer on the team in his mind, can get Tony the ball, and Tony can get a shot off.
And he's tall enough that he's not going to have trouble
6'11", long arms,
getting the
lefty.
ball in there. Yeah. So
now, Pippen, easy to get in.
Yeah.
Run some action away from Tony.
Yeah.
And get the ball over his shoulder and take a shot.
Sounds like a great play. So this is basically a story of this amazing play that Phil, the Zen master, wrote up. But surprise, and for me as a Knicks fan watching this game, I remember seeing this unfold before my eyes where I was like, oh my God, Pippen is not
going in the game.
He's not coming in. I was elated as a Knicks fan. I was like, this is amazing. They're devolving in front of me.
Right, exactly.
We're just gonna sweep the series. And then I had to go back to the videotape on this. Pete Myers off the bench. Phil puts Pete in to sub for Scottie Pippen, and 1.8 seconds left. This guy was ready. Nice loft on this.
Over the shoulder pass.
It's like a little football, like it's a red zone pass with touch.
Oh yeah.
To Kukoc. Catches the ball probably about 15 feet out, something like that.
Yep, just inside the maybe it's outside the free throw line.
Maybe 16 feet, 17 feet, something like that. But like a little bunny, if you're a shooter, you call that like a little bunny, mid-range, catches the ball.
Turn cash money.
So sweet.
Game over.
Well,
and then imagine.
But like, that was game because that ended
game
the game.
over.
Because the Knicks thought they were going to overtime in Chicago, and had they gone to overtime after Pippen sat out, we just felt like we would just smoke them.
Right. Game over.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, and it's really interesting hearing from Bill Cartwright's perspective. B.J. Armstrong, most people don't realize he was an all-star after Jordan left.
Yeah.
It was Horace Grant.
Right.
But to have your number one player pout and quit on the team because he didn't like the last play is one of the worst things.
You expect that from Robin, but not from Batman, right?
It's one of the worst things ever. And he rationalized in the moment, wanted to be a decoy, and then had an opportunity years later to say what he would have done
Right.
And he said, I probably would have done the same thing.
Same guy who had the migraine play, right?
I buy the migraine. Listen,
No, I'm just saying it was a chance for him to erase memories of prior indiscretions. You would have said, forget about it, man. But the thing is, like, it was the right play to call because Kukoc hit the shot.
And Pippen would have gotten a shot that would have been, imagine running not away from the ball, to run towards the action.
Yeah.
More likely not needing to get one dribble and a fall away.
Right.
Tony turned over his shoulder and shot a lefty shot straight on. It was the right call.
Yeah.
So then I would be apoplectic. I've gone into in high school won games where we've won by a little bit and had guys in the locker room joking and laughing. I tore into them even though we won.
Yeah.
couldn't even imagine what I would do if the guy that you rely on, the guy that you've run hills with, doing sprints with, you've lifted with, you've traveled with, you know better, it's your brother, quits on you.
Right. And then Bill Cartwright cries, right? So that's where the senior leadership, and let's translate all this into, I kind of wish corporate America worked this way. I wish like it's like a leadership meeting, like somebody just says, I'm out. And then the team tries to have the meeting and the meeting sucks. And then afterwards, somebody's crying because Scottie didn't show up for the leadership meeting.
Right.
Like that level of just raw, authentic dynamics is what's missing from corporate America. And I mean, in its best moments, it does get that emotionally raw, but that also becomes like, then it's an HR problem and it's a liability and whatever. But like, I just think the level to which it's a morality play for how humans can work together. And then the fact that some of these stories fall short. So then that team wins that game. They wind up playing a competitive series, but they still lose to the Knicks in 7, right? But still, they're down Jordan. And that team got to game 7 against the Knicks. They would have gone on to play Olajuwon. I don't know if they'd have beaten that Olajuwon team because that Rockets team was really good.
Tough team, but also just shows Pippen was a baller, but Phil's a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
Phil's a good coach. I don't care what anyone says. He had talent, but with that team,
So I think we landed in the right place. So Scottie, this was very much about Scottie, but it was also about Michael. And I did get it. Like I let you know, I did get a chance to get into like the hot take machine a little bit this week. And it was also about the way in which Jordan drove his teams to win results in teammates who don't really love him, you know? So like they appreciate what he did, and they appreciate him as the greatest of all times and the fact that they had a chance to win with him. But if they were to admit that they love him, it's not the level of love they would have had for a different leadership style. He was both the greatest of all time and he was a bully. Yes. And that, to me, what that brings me to, and I would still call him the GOAT, not LeBron, but LeBron is less of a bully. LeBron's team vibe is somewhere between the way Scottie led the team and the way Michael leads the team. And I would say in terms of lessons learned for those of us on the outside, those of us who are trying to analogize to like corporate dynamics or just team dynamics that are good, I think there's a lot to break down around how LeBron has matured and evolved to develop a style that's very different from Michael's. And I know we don't want to get into the LeBron versus Michael in terms of their basketball game, but in terms of, do you want to win with LeBron or do you want to win with Michael? I think that's an interesting question. Which sort of team would you thrive in, and then would you look back on afterwards and say, I love that guy. That guy got me somewhere I didn't expect to go. I think that's an interesting question.
Yeah. So if you're with LeBron, because LeBron has been this way, I still remember seeing LeBron's team travel into LA. I saw him play against Compton when he was in high school. Yeah. And even then, the best you could see, the most dominant player on the court, he was always finding guys when they're open. Yeah. To me, that's going back to the corporate world, it's giving someone who has their skill set, giving them agency to do things. So he was giving them ability to have that light shine on them and see if they can perform.
Mm-hmm.
So with LeBron, you know that you're going to, a lot of people would, if they're free agents, they want to go play with LeBron because they know they're going to get the ball.
Yeah.
They're going to have a chance.
Right.
So that's great. But Michael, you hate him.
Yeah.
It's a hard time being around him.
Yeah.
But I think LeBron helps people with confidence be more confident. I think you would be a better player spending 2 years with Michael.
Yeah.
You would be with LeBron. It would force you to work out in a different way. And granted, LeBron is a workout fiend as well.
Right.
But that's what I've been thinking about. You'd love to play with LeBron, but I'm wondering if you took the same person and they spent 2 years with both leaders.
Yeah.
Someone when they matriculate to go to the next team as a free agent, who would be a better player? Who would be a better pro?
Right.
Eventually, Scott Burrell, after his 1 year, was a better pro spending time. He's in 9 years in the pros, better time that 1 year with Michael because of what he went through, watched one of the greatest players of all time, and realized where his deficiencies were.
But I wonder, Scottie or Tony or B.J. Armstrong, if they played with a LeBron, it does remind me a little bit of like Scottie to me is a precursor to LeBron in a really interesting way. And LeBron was asked to lead from the start, and Scottie was asked to take a back seat from the start. And like whether it was how much he was getting paid, his relationship to Jordan, even when he was playing in '94, he was still looking to Jordan to, I guess that was before '95 when he was actually saying, Mike, I need you back. We're not going to get there without you. But at least in '94, it was a little bit like, almost like LeBron in Cleveland, where it's like, by virtue of this guy, second time in Cleveland, by virtue of this guy who knows how to win, who knows how to distribute, it isn't all about him. He won with J.R. Smith, right? I mean, he won with Kyrie, who's notoriously ball dominant, like notoriously selfish, and he was able to kind of blend into the chemistry there. And again, I'm going to let go on the LBJ thing because this is about Jordan, but I do think it was interesting to think about Scottie, like '94 Scottie, and phases of LeBron's career.
Oh, super interesting.
Yeah, but anyway, all right. So let's shift to Jordan though, because Jordan in baseball, you were troubled by this, but I was surprised. And maybe it was just a little revisionist history. They're trying to make him look good, but he was a decent minor league baseball player with some upside, and then
hit 202 with 51 RBIs. They're saying to do that, to jump to AA after not playing since he was 17. Was unbelievably impressive.
Right.
And I forgot who. Yeah, Terry Francona as his manager. I mean, he won. Come on, think about the coaches that he had. At least the last two coaches, Phil and Francona.
Right.
After Francona went to go win for the Sox, but they said if 1,500 more at bats, he would be legitimate utility. Probably utility.
He'd be like a bench player.
Sure.
in the majors. Yeah.
Rangy.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I don't know if he had a seed of an arm, but it seemed like he had a strong enough arm.
He'd be like a Pete Myers of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
And he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to cross the picket line. And he worked through some of the tragedy of his father, which is a huge part of the Jordan narrative, as presented by Jordan. But it does seem like there's definitely some truth to it. Like he's playing Seattle in '96 in the finals.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about that series.
Yeah, the '96 finals. First of all, to have that team win 72 games in the regular season. The best part of the show when Will Perdue is talking to Scottie and looking at the schedule, and Scottie says, I don't think we're going to lose a game for 3 months. Yeah. But that was just a fact.
Right.
They were that good and ready and on point. Almost like when they came out of that series after losing to Pistons and they were ready to take over the world.
Right.
So that team, Detlef Schrempf, Kemp before he blew up a little bit, where he still was Rain Man.
He's like still a man-child, right? He's the
Still
tail end of man-child, yeah.
Payton, who is very few players can win Defensive Player of the Year as a point guard.
Yeah.
And
George Karl.
And to not remember the series where you had the Defensive Player of the Year, but for 3 games was not guarding Jordan.
Oh my God.
It's just like a crazy thought.
And then you have the Carolina connection to George Karl.
And the reason why Payton wasn't guarding, the funny thing is, but if I remember correctly, Payton averaged like 18 points a game.
Yeah.
So he didn't want him to guard Jordan because he didn't want his offensive game to get to 18 points.
But I mean, he was not a tremendous offensive.
No,
like he wasn't
not a great outside shooter.
He wasn't a shooter at all.
Little herky-jerky layups. I remember out of Oregon State. So,
but a competitor and a guy who could run his mouth relentlessly. And that was the other thing. Jordan talking trash, because we talked about that last episode. This episode, he started talking about the B.J. Armstrong, LeBradford Smith. I might have, if I ever had a fake ID, might have been LeBradford something. Might have. It's pretty good. But
my middle name is Bradford.
And La is classy in French, right? So it all works. But my God, and then Jordan talking about, it's the same thing I was saying, where like there's certain people you talk trash to kind of assert your dominance over them and like crush them. There's certain people you just don't talk to Mike. Like you are zipped when you're playing Jordan, even though you want to talk to him because you know he's talking to you, but just don't give him any motivation. You want to be invisible.
And Payton didn't care.
And then to see Jordan laughing at Payton still talking. But the thing is, Payton does have that narrative. He still doesn't know what would have happened. He doesn't know.
For the 3 games that he guarded Jordan, because they won 6. Mm-hmm. Jordan scoring average went down, field goal percentage went down. Mm-hmm. He was just a much less efficient player. I mean, 5 for 17, 6 for 18. Right. He guarded him well.
Right. But still,
Jordan can only scoreboard, right?
Yeah.
I got the trophy. Yeah. I don't remember all that.
And they won on Father's Day, breaks down crying. It's some powerful stuff. And then on the other side, you have, we're setting up for Reggie Miller episode.
Which is going to be awesome.
Reggie Miller, episode 9. And then a little anticlimactic in terms of the Utah series, right? So I'm not sure what other wrinkles they're going to bring in, because they brought in the supporting cast, like Steve Kerr getting punching Jordan and getting punched back.
Punch him in the chest, get punched in the face. You can take a punch, which tells you a lot of why he can handle the Warriors and why he is the way he is with Draymond Green.
And Jordan apologized. So Jordan very seldom apologizes. He realized I screwed up. I'm going to apologize because he knows I may be a bully, but I shouldn't be bullying the smallest guy on the court. I shouldn't be physically bullied. Like his bullying was typically psychological intimidation and dominance. And that's why we got to talk more about what you can learn from as a manager or as a leader. Because he's a wartime consigliere. He's winning because it's war. He doesn't care. If Jordan had an HR department, he would be suspended immediately. You're not allowed to operate that way.
Yeah, but what you learn, it's just all about advocating for yourself. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will cower.
Yeah.
A lot of people will speak up and then maybe it doesn't get hurt. But if you advocate for yourself, which is what Kerr did, had confidence enough in his ability and what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Jordan had respect for that. Right. Managers will take a lot. They will ask a lot from their team.
Yeah.
Sometimes with blinders, not realizing they're star performers, they're milking dry.
Right.
Person that will step up and say, "You're crushing me. You need to have a different perspective. Here's what I need." They actually become partners versus a manager-employee relationship. I think that's what happened with Kerr and Jordan.
You know what I'm coming to from this too, and I think Kerr is an interesting example of it. But from the '90s Bulls, the management lessons are more coming from Phil. What did Phil do?
Yep.
And then if you look at the LeBron era, which is also the Steve Kerr era, by that point, what was LeBron doing? And it's still the Phil remove that Steve Kerr had. Steve Kerr learned from Phil and Popovich, and then was able to lead a team. By the time we're in the teens and it's LeBron and Golden State, you need a Phil-like sensibility to win. But I think what's interesting is that the players are no longer Jordan-like. Like the players are no longer dominating. Because honestly, I do think the quality of his cohort, especially once Barkley was gone, once you get to the second phase, Olajuwon's not making it to the finals anymore. After maybe the 96 Seattle team, there's not the quality. And I'm a Knicks.
We lost in the World Championship, and we lost in the World Championship of hoops.
Yeah,
that's why we had just watered down pros. We were laughing stock on their national stage. So we went into a dark phase until the Lakers came back. And
But also until first Jordan came back and saved the league, though, right? Because had he not come back, had they not crushed through that run, and then especially culminating in beating, I mean, how easy was it for all of us to root against Utah when Jordan was trying to win his last dance? Everybody by that point was rooting. It was like the last episode of Seinfeld. Like it was like you had to be behind him, even if you had a little bit of haterade earlier on. Tons to talk about. We could literally go on and on. So if we could get more time, we will. But this has been a ton of fun. Tarlin, always a pleasure. We got to get more of this in because we're winding down. You know, I don't know how we get it all in. Any parting shots, final thoughts for this? We may get more, but this might be all that you get. Final thoughts.
Bring some tissues on Sunday.
Oh my God. Not a dry eye in the house. Tarlin Ray running it back. This can't be our last dance next week. There's too much magic happening here. Hopefully y'all are enjoying it. We'll continue to run it back through the last dance, and we'll explore where this goes afterwards. Thanks again for listening.